So if you are driving home and maybe you're calling in somewhere to pick up something for tea or dinner, do you care what supermarket, what shop, what outlet that you actually shop in? Supermarket giants Sainsbury and Asda are promising the Competition and Markets Authority that they will pass on over £1 billion worth of price cuts to you, the customer, if the Competition and Markets Authority allows them to merge. Okay, so does this matter to us as long as we're paying the right sort of price? Well, let's talk about this to Kate Hardcastle. Kate is a retail and consumer expert and friend of this show, as is the journalist and social commentator Johnny Gould. Very good to see you both.
Hi, Amy.
Does it matter to either of you where you shop?
It matters where I shop, but if that brand changes week per week because I get more of what I want from a different brand, I'm more than happy to change my loyalty, and that is the way of the British public.
You see, I laugh at this because I will literally call in anywhere. The Co-op, Asda. I've never done the little thing. But
why not?
I don't know, Morrison's totally fine there. Everywhere I tend to go now is, my wife really tells me off, it's petrol station shops. Where did you buy that? And for apparently it's some sort of sin if I bought it in a petrol station shop.
You know what? I want to resist the convenience of the corporations, because we have seen an overwhelming corporatism amongst our shopping, which denies small and medium enterprises, local supermarkets, local shops, and critically the produce that gets syndicated via smaller businesses into our diets. You know, I don't think they're particularly on the side of good diets, big supermarkets, and I think we have to resist the convenience of corporations. I really do.
There's a good point of truth in there, Johnny. I mean, the fact is that if we spend locally, it stays locally. That's been proven time and time again. And if you support independent retailers, they've got more chance of surviving. And if you're someone who wants a community with a village green and to have facilities, you need to support industry there.
Except, do you know why I don't? Not that I don't, that I can't. One thing which the big supermarkets have that the local people don't have on the high street is parking.
And this is huge. This is huge. Accessibility is so important. But people like to have village mentality where they can walk and enjoy and stroll. People like to also then have the convenience of driving up almost American style to the doorway of someone loading the car and getting on. And we've seen the rise of online because of convenience. What the challenge is we've got to look at the bigger picture here. And the consumer's really in the driving seat. And they weren't. 20 years ago when I started in retail, decisions were made in boardrooms, very profit-driven, about how you make the most cash. Because of social media, because of the pressure, because of the awareness of consumers now, they're driving so much more of what's happening within retail. And some of the retailers are too big and too cumbersome to turn those organisations round and actually make a difference.
But you say the consumer is in the driving seat. I believe you get nothing for nothing. So they must be desperate for this amalgamation, because they wouldn't be promising what they are promising, £1 billion worth of cuts passed on to the consumer and whatever. It's practically a bribe to the Competition and Markets Authority, all of this. But here's where I think, Kate, that have we not changed a bit, that it's not just about price? Maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm wrong, but you know what? I actually do care what the farmer's getting for their milk and what they're getting for their tomatoes or marrows or whatever it happens to be. And I'll tell you what, if they're squeezing prices, the supplier is going to be squeezed as well.
You are so right, and consumers are so thinking down an environmentally and ethical track now. And this huge headline I think they're hoping to create about saving prices, it's a different consumer now. Consumers saw these supermarkets oversell, push goods 2-for-1s down their throat time and time again. And then the transparency of the German discounters came in, who I don't think are discounters. I think they're value retailers.
What's the difference?
Okay, so a value retailer is very much about trying to get the best quality for a certain price rather than the lowest price. And that's what consumers want. No one goes out saying, how can I feed my family very bad quality for a low price? Everyone's, how can I get the best for my deal? And that's what they've linked into. So if you see their advertising, it's not about we're the cheapest. It's about actually try this, convert to this brand, maybe give up your own brand and we can try one of ours instead. It's a very clever marketing ploy. When I was young, my mum went to Quick Save and the carrier bag was hidden in another carrier bag and we shamefully walked out of that store pretending we'd shop somewhere else. That's not there now. The shame's gone, the embarrassment's gone. And I think just trying to play on the we're going to be cheaper card is going to work only for so many people so long.
Do you know what? When I was young, it was a really exciting thing to go to the supermarket. Honestly, isn't that sick?
Out.
Isn't that weird? It was like a day out. And then they had the out-of-town ones, and you thought, wow, that's incredible. And your parents brought you on a Friday night, and the aisles were massive, and they had massive boxes of sugar puffs and things that, you wouldn't see in any...
It's so true.
And it was
magical.
See your
eyes lighting
it was
up
magical.
Now.
It was the early 70s.
A teenage family holiday to the United States and going round those supermarkets.
Well, you were privileged.
I really was, the land of plenty.
Went to Filey. Nothing wrong with Filey.
But now that novelty has worn off, and as you say, it is a different type of consumer now. Now, Johnny, you are also worried. Kate made this point about no one sets out to say, give me the cheapest bit of rubbish you can so I can feed me or feed my family. And there is this story today which frightened the wits out of me, which is, and I despair why this is allowed to happen. The headline is, one fizzy drink a day. One fizzy drink a day may shorten your life. Just one sugary drink a day pushes up the risk of an early death, according to a major study. Downing pop and sugar-packed energy drinks significantly increases the chance of dying from heart disease and cancer. And it goes on and on and on and on there about things. But here's my point. Why are they allowed to sell this to us?
Yeah, we don't know what is in the ingredients, and believe me, market share is nothing to do with you and I who are buying this stuff, and it is time that we rebelled against the sugar industry. We cannot afford to live like this. And furthermore, the more centralized the market is, the less suppliers that there are, the more poison that we might be given. I'm not talking about anyone individually or particularly, but it stands to reason that the less diversity in the marketplace, the more the consumers will eventually suffer because it's profit driven.
These two would get 60% of the marketplace if that merger was allowed.
It's just not right.
Will it be allowed?
I can't see this going through. I think the one thing I will give you listeners to have a think about is Asda's owned by Walmart. Walmart, a huge American organisation, and they've got all of these problems on the American front as well. And I think that's taking their attention right now. So I think their drive for this might be coming from a very different place in that, let's look at our UK business versus our American one. Where do we want to fight the fires and where we're going to hand this over to someone else as a situation. Sainsbury's customers, when we research them, aren't too happy about it. Asda customers, when we research them, aren't too happy about it. So it doesn't seem to be a good fit. And I think it's driven out the fact that I love strategic alliances and businesses and partnerships in business. I think it works very well at times, but I think it's got to be a better bedfellow than these two.
Even though they are pledging, Kate, a 10% cut on everyday products. That is the big bribe, and does money not talk at the end of the day?
Only for so long. And I think our consumers are more value driven than ever before, and I think they are concerned about suppliers and provenance, and I think actually it's not going to be enough in getting it through this time, and I will be surprised if they can do enough to get it through. This is about trying to be a bigger force, and what the consumer wants actually is a more of a level playing field.
What way do you shop? You see, because I find myself now, again, parking sort of rules me. So I'll pull into a petrol station thinking I can get whatever I want there. Or I'll go to one of the more, the Sainsbury's mini markets or the Tesco Expresses or something again which offers me a parking space outside the door. And inside, that tends to be me.
I try and fight the convenience of it. I do want to invest my shopping pound in local suppliers and in local shops. I really do believe in the freedom of the individual to build their lives and their businesses, and I think corporatism takes away from that.
I now almost do my shopping on the motorways. Since Marks and Spencer's and everybody opened up on the... I know you're laughing.
It's been huge for them, though. This is a huge success model. Travel, as they class it. Same with WH Smiths. They've seen the saving grace out of this. Food on the move.
It's funny. I think men and women think differently on this as well. Mrs. Holmes would never think of going into a motorway service station to buy stuff. But I do. Also, every time I go and say, why can't we order that online? She snaps my hands because she says, Kate, you don't get the same quality. It's the sell-by dates. It's all this sort of thing as well. Is these big out-of-town stores and supermarkets and hypermarkets and whatever, will they become a thing of the past?
Look, online grocery shopping is not the success model that the rest of online shopping is. And online shopping itself's got loads of problems with returns and issues like that because it costs a lot of money to run that business. Grocery, it's really high investment costs and not seeing the benefits right now. So all of this is transitional. Expect it to evolve and change as we get used to it, as we use it more as part. But I don't think there'll ever be an end of the high street. I don't think there'll ever be an end of traditional stores.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no community
There will just
in
be
out
more
of town.
balance.
There is a genuine problem, I think, with the social cost
I agree.
To out of town. And as we buzz around these huge supermarkets on the edge of town, we don't talk to each other. We don't know each other. People are increasingly suspicious
But
of
here's
each
all
other.
I see.
I think that's a real
You
problem.
talk out of town, but in town, here's all I see. Nail bars, Turkish barber shops, estate agents. There's no banks left anymore. Subway shops. I mean, where's the community in all of that?
That should have been the planners
At
doing
the
a
next-
better job
at
to
the
make
next-
that not happen.
I think the answer to that is at the next property crash.
Yeah.
You know, which will shake up local business and local industry and local shops.
Okay, the CMA's final decision due on the 30th of April. Sainsbury's and Asda, should they get 60% of the market, folks? Kate, last word with you. Should they? Will they?
I don't think this is the right deal for the consumer.
Okay.